This is where we're staying on Harcourt Street at the heart of Dublin. These magnificent Georgian buildings, you know, they're all built at the end of the 18th century. Really big Georgian houses with fantastic doors, fantastic entrances, you know. And you know, this is what the English built. They invested heavily in Dublin, and they made it a great city, capital city of Ireland. It's one of the biggest cities in Europe at the time, and the great heritage. We sort of gave this up to the Irish Free State, 1923, 23. And to be honest, it's been preserved over time. We've got the tram coming past here now. They've modernised the transportation, but the buildings of Dublin have been preserved. It wasn't bombed in the Second World War, and in the 1960s, when a lot of Britain was redeveloped, Ireland simply didn't have the money. So they kept these buildings going as they were. They become very shabby and run down. But now, because Dublin's a prosperous city, they've invested a lot of money in renovating these buildings. So they're keeping up the heritage from the past. You know, it's great to see. It's a lovely environment to be in. This is St Stephen's Gardens at the heart of Dublin, just south of the river. It's a lovely little green oasis. It gives the city a bit of tranquility, a little bit of calm. Yeah, it's a beautiful city, Dublin. This is the magnificent Trinity College at the heart of Dublin. It was set up by Queen Elizabeth I at the end of the 16th century, 1593, to set up a Protestant intelligentsia, Protestant intellectuals, Protestant theocracy in Ireland. And it's connected with Oxford and Cambridge. It's like the Irish branch, or was. Initially it was exclusively for Protestants, but in 1790 they offered entrance for Catholics. Catholics would come and join, but the Catholic Church forbid Catholics to join this college. I mean, it's often been accused of bigotry, but it was the Catholic Church who wanted nothing to do with this. On the other side of the street, this is the Bank of Ireland. This was the Irish branch of the Bank of England, which ran the economy of Ireland until independence, and then post-independence as an independent bank. I mean, what strikes you about this? The magnificence of the buildings, neoclassical. The British were saying to the Irish, look, we're here to stay and we're here to rule, and our rule is going to be good, it's going to be magnificent. And they laid the basis for the modern Irish state. Did a great job here, the British. Let's cross over and have a look in Trinity. This is the courtyard, the magnificent Trinity College in Dublin. Some really illustrious alumni from this college, most notably Edmund Burke, the philosopher and politician who wrote Reflections on the French Revolution. Really was the founder of English conservatism, his ideas, and they still resonate today. He talked about continuity from the past to the present and then handing over to the future. Very relevant ideas. Of course, there was the amazing dramatist Oscar Wilde. He was an alumni of this college before he went to Reading jail for his homosexuality, but what an amazing wit that man had. But another great man who came out of this college was Edward Carson, the founder of Northern Ireland, who split this island, partitioned it. He was a great Irish patriot, but also a great believer in the Union, Edward Carson. And he didn't want the island to leave the Union at the time of Gladstone, start of the 19th century, when Home Rule was demanded by the Catholics. He wanted Ireland to remain part of the Union, But what he didn't realise was that the Tories in Britain wanted the Irish Catholics out of the Union because they become a voting bloc against the Conservative Party, and they're keeping the Liberal Party in power. I mean, they think in Ireland that it was Sinn Féin that won independence for Ireland, but the Tories were desperate to get rid of Ireland, and they enabled Sinn Féin to create the Free State, kept hold of the 6 counties in the north, the Protestant counties, which still to this day prop up the Tory government. So it was really a product of internal British politics that Ireland becomes separated from the Union. And really, I see it as a great tragedy, because the truth is, the Irish, the English, the Scottish and Welsh, they're all the same. They're the same people, the same humour, the same blood, the same temperament, the same, we're all mixed together. Our bloodlines have been mixed together for thousands of years. We're separated by something superficial, by a religion, Catholicism, which isn't really adhered to now in the South. Only 10% of people go to church. And the politicians have milked it for their own end. But we need to come together again as the British Isles, because we have new threats now, new threats to our actual existence. The tides of immigration that are coming in, especially from the Islamic world. That's the real threat. It's no longer about Catholic and Protestant, Ireland and Britain. We have a real enemy that threatens us all, and we've got to come together as family, which is what we are again, to defend the British Isles, the 6,000 islands of our archipelago. Don't throw any tomatoes! Where's Father Ted when you need him? Where's Father Ted? Dougal! Dougal! Oh, I'm free! I'm free! Just had a view of the customs house there with the great dome. This is the River Liffey, the heart of Dublin. We're crossing the O'Connell Bridge now. We're going into O'Connell Street. It used to be called Sackville Street. This was all laid down by the English in the 19th century, creating this magnificent city. I mean, the Irish have got to be grateful for what we did here. We did a great job of building a world-class city in Dublin, which is something the Dubliners today can live and enjoy. And there's a lot of tourists here, and it's a real historic city, Dublin. It's probably the most preserved English city still going. It's pretty ironic. Let's cross over the bridge into O'Connell Street. We're on Sackville Street now, at the heart of Dublin. It was renamed O'Connell Street by the Free State in 1923 in honour of Daniel O'Connell, who was the first Catholic MP way back in the 19th century. Now, when the Free State was founded, it sunk into civil war. Different factions of the IRA turned on each other, and there were raging battles along this street. A lot of the buildings were destroyed. This is where the 1916 Easter Rising took place, at the post office, which we'll visit shortly. And during the battles of the Easter Rising, there was some damage to the buildings here on O'Connell Street, Sackville Street. But it was really in 1923, during the Free State, when the two factions of the IRA, Michael Collins' faction against Eamon de Valera's faction, fought each other on this street, and a lot of the old Victorian buildings were destroyed, and they rebuilt this 1920s stuff. Nowhere near as grand, nowhere near as polished, but the street itself is still magnificent. You've seen the spire, the point it's called. That is where Nelson's column used to stand. In 1966, the IRA blew up the column here for Nelson. There was one major column in London and one in Dublin. It's a magnificent Doric column, and they felt they didn't want a British hero to be here at the heart of Ireland. But of course, Nelson was fighting the tyranny of Napoleon Bonaparte. He created in many ways the modern world, so he was a hero for us all. And it's sad that such a great statue has been replaced by such a bland thing as a point which signifies nothing. And that's really the problem of modern Ireland. It's lost its Catholicism. It's tried to push the Gaelic language, but no one's picked it up. Nobody speaks Gaelic. We've been here for days and we haven't heard anybody speak Gaelic. So Ireland has lost its heart, and all it's got now is a bland spike. This is the famous GPO on Sackville Street, where the 1916 Easter Rising took place. There was a battle here, and the leaders of the Irish Nationalist Army, the Irish Republican Army, they were captured and a number of them were executed. It created a bad feeling in the south. But the truth is, Britain was at war at the time with Germany. So these people were actually aiding the enemy by this uprising. Although Ireland was part of the British Empire and enjoyed all the benefits of the British Empire, a lot of the Irish were not prepared to fight for the British Empire, and that's what really the rebellion was about. So it was a bit of a sad episode, but the Irish have turned these people into heroes now. And you can see here the statue of Jim Larkin, who was a Labour leader at the turn of the 20th century, led a lot of strikes. He led the 1911 strike in Liverpool. He masqueraded as a socialist, but really he was an Irish nationalist just causing strife wherever he went. Sadly, he's celebrated now, but he's a source of division in this island to this day. And the Irish are still celebrating divisive characters who wanted to split the Catholics and Protestants and set them up against each other. They like to say that it's not sectarian, but there is a sectarian underpinning. All these people were Catholics and they wanted to drive the Protestants out of Ireland, just as the IRA today want to drive the Protestants out of Ulster. Much of the history of Dublin is captured in the names of the pubs. There's little boozers everywhere, scores of them, hundreds of them. And this one here is called a Sackville. This Sackville has been forgotten in modern Ireland, but Sackville was a great Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, put here by the Crown, in which Sackville Street, O'Connell Street, was named, and he laid down the centre of Dublin, and he's almost forgotten now in Ireland. But this pub is a memorial to him. It's called the Sackville. I wonder if people remember who this man is when they go there for a drink. This is the water from which the famous Guinness Stout is made. The River Liffey flows from the Wicklow Mountains to Dublin Bay. The life-giving Liffey weaves its way. What I love about coming to towns and cities is that every town and city has got a river at its heart. It was built over a bridging point, or it's a seaport. Now there's only one city in the world which was not built on a river. Do you know what that city is, John?
I think it's in Italy, really, isn't it?
No, it's in Israel. It's Jerusalem.
Oh, Jerusalem.
The holy city.
Well, I'm much
It was built on the holy mountain, the 7 hills of Zion.
But you're the historical, archaeological person to understand history, whereas I wouldn't be a great understanding of the history.
They had to pump the water from the wells into Jerusalem to feed Jerusalem. There's wells there, but there's no river.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Dublin's got a magnificent river, the Liffey.
The Guinness boats,
world famous.
The Guinness boats used to go up there, up and down there at one stage with the timber barrels.
Yeah.
You know, and it's changed dramatically because they've spilled.
How far are we from the Guinness brewery here, John?
Not too far.
St James's, the famous St James's Gate.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on, let's go off to the castle.
Yes.
This is the famous Temple Bar area of Dublin. It's very sort of traditional, cobblestones on the floor, a lot of great bars here, great atmosphere, and you enter it through the Merchants Arch, the historic arch into the trading quarter. This is the Temple Bar pub. It's magnificent with all the floral display on. beautiful flowers, very lively. The 1980s, what was it like then, John?
Well, it was a very derelict place, really. There was
Dark.
there was no development here at all. But it's only in the in the last 30 years that developed it, as they have in most cities and in most countries.
But it's a real hub now. It's a real
the
hub.
Covent Garden
Yeah.
of London
Dublin.
and the
Yeah.
Slater Street of Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Chinatown in the case of Manchester. You know?
So it's really revived here, and it's lovely. The streets have got no tarmac on the cobblestone streets. We'll go into this historic pub. And what are we looking for, John?
We're looking for all this, right?
It's a bit dark in here.
Yeah, it is, yeah, you see, look. And you've got all this here. This is where you need lighting, you see.
Can you film here, Mike? Is it light enough? We've stopped here for a short time. We're going to have a pint of plane and relax for a moment.
You need everybody from all over. Yeah. Thank you.
Get the live music over there, Mike. I love this, an old map of Dublin, the heart of Dublin.
Have you travelled far?
It's a lot bigger now, but it's this is still a historic core, still intact.
Manchester lad.
Yeah, still intact.
When is Liverpool?
Neighbours. We're just on holiday. Yeah, we're travelling around. James Joyce Pub Awards. Jimmy, old Jimmy, Ulysses. Went travelling around Dublin, visited all the boozers, and then wrote a very historic book, didn't he? Have you ever read Ulysses by James Joyce?
No.
Not many people have, except university students. Idiots, yeah. Some memorabilia. It's quite a nice book, isn't it? James Joyce. Did you meet Norway?
There you are.
Whalers? Stavanger. The watering holes of Dublin.
Yeah.
Now every city has its beginnings. Dublin began as a sort of just a church and a bit of a Christian settlement, and then the Vikings came here. If we go around the Bay Area, you'll see where the Vikings had a harbour. They brought the ships here, and the Vikings turned Dublin into a slave market. They used to bring the slaves over from other parts of Ireland and from the west of Britain, and they would buy and sell the slaves here at Dublin. So a bit of a notorious start for the dark pool. That's what Dublin means, the dark pool. But then the Normans arrived here after Strongbow came in the 1260s, and Henry II, the king, he came to Dublin and established himself here to claim sovereignty over Ireland. And it was the Pope, Adrian IV, who gave Ireland to the English crown. Adrian IV was Nicholas Breakspere, the only English Pope, and he gave the Emerald Isle to the English crown. But Dublin hadn't really been established because people were scared to live here. It was vulnerable to raids from Gaelic tribes. And it wasn't until 1204 that King John came and built Dublin Castle to secure the settlement here. In 1207 he went from Dublin to Liverpool and gave Liverpool a charter in 1207. Dublin and Liverpool were founded as cities roughly at the same time, as given a royal charter. So John built his castle here, put a garrison here of his soldiers, and made this Dublin Castle a seat of government This is where they came, and the English foothold was established here in Ireland. And for the next 800 plus years, Dublin was the centre of the English crown in Ireland. And the English developed Dublin into a major city, the centre of government and the centre of investment here. It became one of the great cities of Europe, Dublin. In the 18th century, during the Protestant ascendancy, there were 130,000 people living in Dublin, one of the biggest cities in Europe. It was a place of great prosperity. But Dublin lacked two things. One was coal. There was no coal here, so they'd never industrialised Ireland. The other was the Act of Union, and the government of Ireland was transferred to London, and Dublin lost its significance and went into quite a steep decline after that. In the 19th century, Belfast surpassed Dublin as the main city in Ireland. But then after the creation of the Free State in the 1922, and the British Army assembled here in Dublin Castle and then marched away down to the docks and out of the Republic for good. And Dublin was reborn as the capital of Ireland, but it was a poor state, and it was languished for a long time. It was only really in the 1980s Dublin became a centre of European Union sort of investment, that it began to take off again as an international city. And now it really is a glorious city. It's got its British heritage has been preserved, brought up to date, and money has flowed in from abroad. The Irish, in their wisdom, reduced the corporation tax to 14%, and a lot of multinational companies came to have their headquarters here in Dublin and brought their money with them. So it's a bit of a glory time for Dublin, but it's changing rapidly. A lot of the Irish are very wary of what's going on now, because it's gone from being an Irish town to being a global city, and they're concerned that the immigration is at such a rate now that Dublin and Ireland is being transformed into a global community, and it's losing its identity, and the Irish are losing their control of the situation. It's now controlled by international corporations, which makes a lot of people feel uneasy and feel that the future of Ireland is in danger. Right, Mike, this is the entrance to the courtyard of Dublin Castle, and we're going to see where the Viceroy of Ireland handed over the keys to the castle to Michael Collins in January 1922. It's an interesting bell tower. Anyway, so this is the courtyard of Dublin Castle, and as I say, in January 1922, the Viceroy of Ireland, the last British head of state here, he assembled the remaining troops in line here, and Michael Collins entered the castle, entered the courtyard, and was given the keys to the castle. They waited for him, and he was 7 minutes late, and the Viceroy rebuked him for that and said, "You're late, you're 7 minutes late." And Michael Collins' famous reply was, 7 minutes? We've waited 700 years for the keys to Dublin Castle. 7 more minutes won't cause any problems. And so he was handed the keys of Dublin Castle, and the British left the Republic.
You're 7 minutes late, Mr. Collins. You kept us waiting 700 years. You can have your 7 minutes. Right, let's get this over with.
We're looking for funds really to promote this work that we're doing. So if you support us and you want to invest in this battle to save our nation, there's a PayPal link in the description if you can. please make a donation. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Ring the bell as well so you get a notification of any future videos we make. We're turning out 2, 3, 4 videos a week now, and we're going to keep on this battle until we win. Thank you.